Welcome to TruClub. My name is Daniel, and our guest today is Theresa Payton. Hello, Theresa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. So why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Theresa Payton, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Fortalus Solutions, and I'm also the co-founder of Dark Cubed, which is a security product company. And in addition to being a part of these two fabulous security companies, I also am the mother of 3 kids and an avid soccer mom.
That's great. And do you have any hobbies?
My hobbies are my kids, basically.
Full-time job.
I coach my daughter's 2 soccer teams, and I'm very involved on the board of advisors for my son's travel soccer club.
And what did you want to be when you grew up?
So it varied over time, but I was actually just looking at a journal that I had in 2nd grade that my mom brought over because she's in that process of downscaling the home. So she's like, here's your stuff, take it. And in the journal, I wrote in there, I'd like to be the first female astronaut. And so that had already been checked off by the time I was old enough to do that. I said, or I would like to be a woman Marine who's a drill instructor, the first one. And that was kind of checked off. Or I want to be a female jockey because I love to ride horses and win the Olympics. And so I didn't technically do any of the 3, but I can say I was the first female chief information officer at the White House. So I got a chance to do that.
Yes, that's very cool. Very cool. With zero-day attacks coming every day, what keeps you up at night with regards to cybersecurity?
You know, it's one of those things where, to me, there's a sense of urgency. And the reason why that sense of urgency is there is security is fundamentally broken. And candidly, the security industry is behind the reason why it's broken. We've been focused on the wrong things. We've been focused on buy this product, buy this solution. This is going to be the silver bullet. And that's how it's presented to companies and boards. And there's a fallacy in that because they're all point-to-point solutions. They don't really solve the bigger problem, which is all technology by design today is open. It could be updated. It could be interlinked with other technologies, other devices. And by nature of that fabulous design of being open, all technology, therefore, can be hacked. Right. And that's the piece to me. I think we focus so much on the defensive strategies and not enough on offensive strategies. We've got to turn the conversation around. We've got to say, look, when that breach happens, where is your data and how can people access the data? And if you haven't thought about that before the breach, the cyber criminals surely have, and they're going to take advantage of it.
That makes a lot of sense. What type of tips could you give consumers like me who want to protect their online identities?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, the first thing is, I tell people, one of the practices we used at the White House, we called it segment it to save it. So knowing that people were trying to attack the White House each and every day, we actually segmented data that was important that you would normally think of being stored together. We'd actually segment it off. In your personal life, what does that mean exactly? Because you don't have a team of cybersecurity experts protecting you. You're right. Kind of on your own. So the way I look at it is some simple things you can do is, first of all, have a different email address tied to your bank account and your health insurance than the one you give out to marketing firms, the one you give out to your children's school. Segment your life into different email addresses. Take full advantage of second factor authentication, where those email accounts will actually notify you if you log in from a device that you don't normally do, or it'll expire on the device you normally use, and you have to get sort of that second factor. Again, that's not perfect, but it really does help deter sort of the common everyday account takeovers that we're seeing out there. And then the last thing is really talk to your family members about sort of safe digital hygiene, especially if you have kids or elderly in your lives and you're sharing devices. You really need to talk to them about safe surfing, not clicking on links, not opening attachments. And if you are in a shared device environment, you want to make sure that any sensitive and confidential information that you're accessing online, that you do it from a device that's not shared with everybody else. If you follow just those couple of tips, they'll really help go a long way.
That's great. Where did this passion for cybersecurity come from?
You know, I'm from a long line of military families, so I'm the great-granddaughter, granddaughter, daughter, wife of military, niece and grandniece of military, and so that call to serve is very strong in our family. And I really, I went into banking. I married a guy in the Navy, and the best job available to me was in the financial services industry where we lived. And I didn't realize at the time how just fortunate I was, because it really was going to help me embark on my security career. And at that time, I would volunteer to be on sort of the cutting edge of technology delivery to our banking customers. Yeah. So if it was some new technology being delivered, I wanted to be right at the tip of that spear. When you're on that cutting edge with customers and new technology, you're also on the cutting edge of fraud and cyber criminals and people trying to money launder. And I got tired of seeing the bank or our customers get taken advantage of. And that's really when I started thinking about, we really need to design how we do technology differently. So we design for the human, in this case, the consumer. Mm-hmm. And that really sort of sparked my passion for that. Then I went off to the White House and served there for almost 2.5 years. And the country read me into different programs, trained me on things. And I realized within 90 days of being at the White House that I thought I'd seen it all in banking. I had no idea. I was really looking through a peephole of a closet, and there was much more beyond that. And really felt a firm conviction after I left the White House that I needed to spend the rest of my career protecting people, protecting companies, protecting our government and our allies from cyber criminals.
That's wonderful. And what do you think about passwords today? And do you think their days are numbered?
Their days were numbered 20 years ago. I'm sick of passwords. I don't mind it because I'm trained to use strong passwords, not recycle passwords. But I'll tell you what, when I go out to businesses, I was actually just briefing a board today, and I asked the board members, how many of you love strong passwords and, oh, by the way, love them to expire? And they all laughed. People are in password overload. You got to have a password for your work life, multiple systems in your work life. You have to have a password. My kids' schools, everything is online. I got to have a password for there. I got to have a password for my banking account. Passwords for everything. So to me, that's what I love about Trusona, is because passwords should have died 20 years ago. They're for an old, if you think about the birth of the password, you used to have to timeshare on mainframes. This is before my time. And to be able to sort of allocate the time on the mainframes, the password was born. So if you were only allocated 2 hours, you got your 2 hours, and then it expired. Then we moved from that mainframe construct into the local area networks and the wide area networks, which is kind of where my career started, was there. And again, it was sort of this user ID and password construct. We have not really changed, other than adding characters to it. We haven't really changed the idea behind passwords for decades. Name me another technology other than the mainframe that hangs around longer than decades and we all put up with it.
Right. Can't think of any. Right? People want a new smartphone every 2 years, but yet we still do user ID and password. Right. Theresa Payton, thank you so much for joining us at TruClub today. It was a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Check back again every month for new videos with cyber luminaries like Theresa Payton. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.